The Gospel According to Lazarus is my new novel, and the project begins for me back in the late 1980s. I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area. One of my brothers was in New York at the time. He had AIDS, which meant that I had to travel between San Francisco and New York quite frequently to talk with AIDS researchers, to talk to his doctors about getting better medicines for him, to help him buy food for his apartment and clean it. And it was the worst period of my life. And when he died in 1989, I was left very traumatized. To lose someone at a young age is extremely difficult, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Shortly after returning to the Bay Area, I had a dream about my brother, and I saw him on the patio of a large mansion. He was standing there, and apparently I was staying at this large house because I saw him through my window. I got very excited in the dream. I thought, he's here. He's come back. So I ran outside to see him. He recognized me, but he knew he was very diminished. He could feel emotions only like sadness and depression and misery, but he couldn't feel happiness and joy. And so it left him very upset and me very upset. At some point in the dream, he walked into a carriage house or an annex at the back of the mansion, and I knew somehow not to follow him, and I didn't. Woke up. I had the dream 2 or 3 more times over the next month, and then it vanished from my life. It only came back 17 years later after the death of my mother. Same dream. But this time when I woke up, I thought immediately of Lazarus, who's revived by Jesus in the Gospel according to St. John. And the connection was obvious, of course, these 2 people who come back from the dead, but it seemed that there was more than that. So I started to do a lot of research about Lazarus, his time and his place, the New Testament, daily life back then, what people wore, what people ate. And it suddenly occurred to me, I have to make Lazarus the narrator of my new novel. And that's what I did. I continued to do the research, then I wrote the book. I tell the story from his point of view, so he wakes up in his rock-cut tomb in Jerusalem, disoriented, unsure of where he is, and his 2 sisters tell him, "You were dead," and he doesn't believe them. Who does he turn to for help? His best friend from childhood, Jesus Christ, whom I call Yeshua ben Yosef in my novel because I wanted to give him back his Judaism and his Hebrew name. So the book has just come out in England, coming out soon in America. I hope you will love it. It's a very different perspective on the New Testament characters, and it's been a very exciting project for me.